Infinite Gacha. Chapter 5 Episode 16. Versus Giant White Fin Whale. The giant white fin whale roars as if expressing its will to never let us escape. Its roar reached us in the sky. It is so big that I wanted to show it to Yume and everyone in the Naraku if I have the chance. I didn't want to hurt it because of its rarity, but if it attacks me, that's a different story. I look down with cold eyes and give instructions. Suzu, Mara, can you beat it? Nod. Keek. Leave it to us, my lord. We'll sink that oversized fish who dares to interfere with us into the sea in no time. Suzu nods vigorously while Mara replies cheerfully. Suzu takes a stance with Rock to counterattack, and Mara prepares to create a chimera for an underwater battle. Keek. Sorry, but please buy me some time. I need some time to create an underwater chimera. Nod. Mara, leave this to us. As Rock speaks, Suzu aims and pulls the trigger on the white whale. Do. Magic bullets shot out of the gun's muzzle at super speed. The giant whitefin whale quickly dives into the sea. As the magic bullets hit the ocean, they lose their force before reaching the giant whitefin whale. Despite its 30-meter-long size, the giant whitefin whale dives and swims faster than expected. The whale occasionally emerges from the water and shoots seawater spears from holes on its back to attack us. Suzu takes this opportunity and hits it with bad status magic bullets. Still, it is difficult to hit her target because of the many seawater spears. The giant whitefin whale quickly dives into the sea and uses the water as a shield. I am impressed by the giant whitefin whale movement. To take advantage of the terrain and successfully prevent Suzu's attack. That giant whitefin whale's intelligence is higher than I thought. Suzu's level is 1.5 times higher. She should be able to beat it easily. In fact, even if the White Knight's level were below 4,000, they could easily be defeated by Suzu and the others. Even so, the giant whitefin whale can match her because it makes good use of the terrain conditions. When it comes to avoiding bullets, isn't it better than the White Knights? However, our victory is certain. Because the other one is Chimera Mara, level 7777. Keek. Sorry to keep you waiting, giant fish. I have prepared a custom-made chimera for you. Mara's skirt swells up to create an underwater chimera. It is an orca. A 10-meter-long fish chimera with large horns, the upper half black and the lower half white. Orca falls into the ocean below. When it hits the water's surface, it creates a big water pillar. It dives into the sea, then strikes the giant whitefin whale with a swift movement. When the enemy submerged back into the water, Orca hits it hard till its body emerges. Suzu didn't waste this chance. Exclamation point. Aura. Eat this. Magic bullets accurately land on the giant whitefin whale's body. The magic bullets were charged with a bad status spell, but since the opponent's body is nearly 30 meters long, it would take some time for the bullets to take effect. They can hunt it down without much difficulty. Keek. Don't think you can escape. Mara enjoys the sight below her. The whitefin whale cannot keep up with Orca's fast movements. Orca repeatedly strikes the whale's body with its horn. Whenever the giant whitefin whale exposed her body to the sea surface, Suzu shot him with her magic bullets without hesitation. Oh. No matter how big the giant whitefin whale is, the effect will start to appear if she shoots it with 100 bad status magic bullets. Poisoned, blind, bleeding, paralyzed, sleepy, confused, cursed, illusory, weakened, etc. Orca takes the opportunity to attack further. The blue sea water mixed with the giant whitefin whale's blood. Although we are overwhelmingly stronger, not everything is going as planned. Other fishes gather to join the battle, maybe because the sea is polluted with the giant whitefin whale's blood, or perhaps they notice us because of the commotion. My lord! Many fishes with wings flying towards us. That's interesting. Just as Nazuna said, the winged fishes fly toward us all at once. These fishes do not have feathers like birds, but rather thin, shiny, silver scales. Their beaks are pointed and sharp, and they charge at us with great force. We are too high for them, so they fall into the sea. Hundreds of them try to attack us in the air, but only a dozen of them can reach us. Do you think you fish can scare us off with numbers? I won't let you touch Rato-sama. May cuts them down with one hand using her magical threads. They posed no threat at all. Besides the winged fishes, sharp fangs, sharp back fins, and saw-shaped head fishes also gathered around. But they couldn't hurt us. They were shot dead by Suzu's magic bullets or pushed back by Orca. With more hindrances coming in our way again and the giant white fin whale being too big, the battle is not over. The bad status inflicted by Suzu's magic bullet will eventually kill it. Still, we don't know how many hours that will take. Its gigantic size makes the poison and bleeding effect less effective. Sorry, but I don't have time to deal with them. Mara's skirt fluttered in the wind, probably because she used her lower half to create Orca. I speak to her. Mara, don't you think it's about time? Keek keek keek. That's right. We have weakened it a lot, and I think it's about time. She agrees and uses her entire left arm to create a new fish chimera. Keek keek keek. Let's finish this quickly. Mara uses her left arm entirely to create a fish. It is slightly larger than a small fish. Its body surface is shiny, and its head is shaped like a sword. When one sees it for the first time, one might think that it is too small for a left arm. But its ability is very frightening. Mara drops small swordfish. It falls by gravity, making a small ripple. Small swordfish swim through the swarms of fish and then pierce the giant white fin whale's body. From the giant white fin whale's eyes, it is just a small needle prick, but the result is dramatic. Oh! The giant white fin whale begins to rampage desperately as if trying to shake off something. It doesn't care about the orca's attacks. It is simply desperate. The giant white fin whale is rampaging so badly because the small knife fish invades through the wound and travels through the blood vessels and organs to the brain. Eventually, it reaches the brain and takes over the body of the invaded target. The whitefin whale may have instinctively realized this and rampaged around trying to eject the small swordfish, but it is a futile action. After a while, the giant whitefin whale cramps and stops moving. It seems that the small swordfish reached the brain. It pierced into the brain and took everything from the giant whitefin whale. Now the giant whitefin whale is literally no longer an enemy. Infinite Gacha, Chapter 5. Episode 17. Cottage. Suzu, Mara, get rid of the remaining hostile fish because I don't want to be disturbed any further. Nod. Keek 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 keek. Please leave it to me, my lord. Suzu and Mara happily continue their attack as they fly. Suzu fires a magic bullet from the sky. Mara has already given Orca and small swordfish instructions, so the two fish start to rampage. The giant whitefin whale's brain has been taken, and its body seized. The giant whitefin whale attacks the other fishes and sinks them into the sea. Using its gigantic body, the giant whitefin whale slammed its body and tail on its own fellow fishes. It doesn't care about its own physical damage. Because of their numbers, many fishes could not avoid the attacks and die. Even if they managed to escape, Orca would attack them, or Suzu would shoot them from the sky even when they escaped to near the sea surface. Once their main force, the giant whitefin whale, was taken from them, there was no way for them to win. Suzu and Mara defeat them mercilessly. About 10 minutes after the battle begins, the hostile fishes have been wiped out. The sea surface is covered with red blood, flesh, and scales, creating a hideous color. However, the waves wash away the color after a while, and the sea regains its original beautiful color. Now let's move, before another group comes. Mara, hurry up, get your detached bodies. The giant whitefin whale is a hindrance, so dispose of it. Keek keek keek. Roger that. Following my instruction, Mara descends to get orca and swordfish. If the giant whitefin whale is clean, riding on its back to our destination may give us a change of pace, but riding it with its entire body covered in blood and wound is a bad idea. First of all, even if there are no scratches, it won't be comfortable to ride on its back because of the vibrations. Although Nizuna and Yum would enjoy it. For efficiency and safety, it is better to continue flying like this. Wait a minute, Redodano. Maradano. Did you take control of that giant whitefin whale? The dwarf king calls out to me. Everyone's eyes turn to the dwarves. Dagon opens his mouth on behalf of his men. If that big fish is controlled by Maradano, then I would like to take it home and use it as research material. Is that possible? I understand your feeling, but that is impossible. The fish is controlled by Mara, so it's calm now. But once Mara takes back its detached body, it will die. First of all, where are you going to keep and study such a big fish? Gunu. The dwarves look at the giant whitefin whale with a disappointed expression. After confirming that there is no objection, I give a hand signal to Mara. As she begins her descent again, the dwarves mutter. What a waste! A fun research subject is. I'm sure there are others, so if they can help us capture them on our way home. Dwarves' passion for research gives me a headache. It really is more troublesome than a strong enemy. Mara safely retrieves orca and small swordfish. It suddenly twitches once when small swordfish breaks out of the whitefin whale. Then gradually, its giant body sinks into the sea. Apparently, the body does not float to the surface after death, but sinks into the sea. We see it off and continue flying to our destination. There is a possibility that the second group of the enemy will arrive, and we don't want to waste any more time. After flying for a while, an island comes into view. It is about 1.5 times larger than the small island we first landed on. At the island's center stands a double spiral building, which we saw on the upper floor. It extends to the ceiling far above and is connected to the island. There are only a few trees along the coast, a sandy beach, short grasses, and flowers. What is the purpose of this double spiral building? We are curious, but we arrive at this island without knowing the answer. Suzu first lands on the island to check if there are any traps and finds no problems. After that, everyone lands on the island. The dwarves were disappointed that they couldn't bring back the giant whitefin whale. Still, once they landed on the island, they immediately started surveying and collecting samples without hesitation. To be honest, I am impressed by how fast their moods change. This island is free of traps and dangerous monsters. But like before, I asked Suzu and Mara to escort the dwarves. I took Mei and Nizuna with me and proceeded to the double spiral building. Same as the upper floor, there is a broken steel lid and a hole. It seems that there is another floor underground. Redo-sama, are we going down? No, let's call it a day. Even if we are fine, Dagondano and his men are probably tired. Dwarves vigorously collect samples and investigate, but they have been attacked by stone golems, the giant whitefin whale, and a swarm of hostile fish. Rather than forcing ourselves to proceed, we should stay overnight to rest our bodies and spirits. Then let's decide who will do the night watch. You can put me on the night watch, too. I have more experience as an adventurer than Mei and the others. Don't make a joke. We will do the night watch. Please rest your body, Redo-sama. I'm not joking. I don't mind doing the night watch. But Mei lightly brushed me off and urged me to take a rest. Even if I insisted further, I would take away their role and motivation, so I backed off quietly. I did think about returning to Naraku with SSR transfer, but we're sure we can return to Naraku from this place, but there's a possibility that we won't be able to return to this place with SSR transfer. If that happens, we will have to start from the beginning again. That will be very troublesome. The tension and mood of exploring the ruins would also be diminished. We have food in our item box, so the only problem is the shelter. Usually, I would set up a tent and put a thick cloak inside it as bedding. But I want the Dwarf King and his men to feel more comfortable and safe. So I took out a card from my pocket. I move away from the double spiral building, find a nice spot, and release the card's power. SR Cottage Release. A 2-story cottage that radiates the warmth of wood has appeared on this ancient civilization's island. As expected, Dagon and his men quickly gather to see it closely. Radodano, where did this building come from? I created it with a little special magic. It is equipped with basic furnishings, so we'll stay here today. Please rest in any room you like. Is this created with magic? Let me see inside. Me too. Me too. Let me see it too. With their curiosity stimulated, the dwarves rushed into the cottage. Dwarves are really straightforward when they see something interesting. I couldn't help but stare at their easy-to-understand behavior patterns. By the way, SR Cottage is equipped with a basic furniture set. But any prefab used by former human slaves isn't equipped with any furniture. Therefore, I gave the fairy maids furniture cards, such as beds, chairs, tables, and wardrobes. I have many in prefab cards, and the size is just right, so I gave them to the former human slaves. Back to the story. Now, let's make a cottage for us to stay in tonight. I take out another SR Cottage card and release it. In an instant, another cottage is completed. It's easy to clean up because I only need to put it in my item box. Nazuna, you've been peeking in the hole for a while now, what's wrong? Usually, Nazuna would have been excitedly rushing to check the inside of the cottage. But since a few minutes ago, she has been peeking into the hole that leads to the next floor. She did not immediately respond when I spoke to her but tilted her head and turned around. With her nose twitching, she speaks to me. My lord. I feel that we should be more cautious when entering this hole. I smell danger. It seems that something triggered the instinct of Naraku's strongest fighter. Mei and I looked at each other, and our expressions tensed at her words. Infinite Gacha. Chapter 5 Episode 18. Forbidden Sword, Manufacturing. One of Rado's revenge targets, Nano the Dwarf. He resigned from his job to make the Forbidden Sword. He moved to a house in the suburbs. The walls are composed of stone and metal, while the gate is made of metal. It is a 2-story house with a garden, but it is not well maintained. The building is designed to be sturdy instead of decorative. Therefore, it resembles a small fortress rather than a noble mansion. The fund is not a problem because he still has the reward for killing the suspect master. The house Nano moved into was originally built for blacksmithing research, so it was very suitable for manufacturing the Forbidden Sword. There is also a research room in the basement to prevent secrets from leaking out. The former owner also worked to create legendary weapons like Nano, but he died before he could fulfill his dream. Ironically, someone who is also trying to create a legendary weapon moves in. Hello. It's me, Hisomi. A human merchant shouts at the house's front door. The human merchant also knocks on the door knocker to catch Nano's attention. The merchant comes to the house with the ordered goods on a wagon covered with a thick cloth. The merchant is about 170 centimeters tall, slender, and wears very ordinary clothes. The leather bag he usually carries on his shoulder is inside the wagon. Overall, nothing special about his appearance. Perhaps his only distinguishing features are his string-like slanted eyes and shady smile. After a few moments, the door opens a little. The interior is dark, even though it is still daylight. Maybe this is because no lights are turned on. Despite this, Nano's eyes are shining as if filled with light. "Oh, Hisomi. Do you bring the stuff?" "Of course, I have brought all the goods that Nano-sama ordered," Hisomi tells him with a shady smile. Nano gave a sign with his chin to go behind the house. They're going to unload the goods through the back door. Hisomi seems to be used to it and goes behind the house. She pulls the wagon near the warehouse entrance. Hisomi takes out a memo from her pocket and reads out the goods he brought. "I brought food, alcohol, daily necessities and consumables, as well as iron ore, coal, and various alchemy materials. And I also brought 3 barrels of special materials this time as well. However, these special materials are a little too heavy for me." "I understand. Geez, you humans are weak. But it is an important material. I will carry it myself, so don't touch it." "Oh, thanks, that's very helpful." Nano snorts once at Hisomi and quickly gets to work. Nano carries in a big barrel. His level is around 300. He can carry such a big barrel easily. Meanwhile, Hisomi carries in small items like groceries. Because the two of them work together, it doesn't take much time to carry in the goods. After bringing in the goods from the back door, Hisomi speaks to Nano while facing each other inside the storage room. "Then I will take the payment from your Adventurers Guild account as usual." "Okay, here's your check." Nano hands Hisomi a check for the amount of money he has prepared in advance. This would allow him to collect money from Nano's Adventurers Guild account. Hisomi puts the check in his wallet and then casually begins to talk. "How is your work going? If there are any materials or supplies you are missing, I can find them for you right away." "No problem. It's going very well. Look at this." He makes a lunatic smile and pulls out one of the knives from his waist. The knife is slightly reddish. If one looks closely, a faint black haze comes out of it. "I made this knife as an experiment by following the book I bought from you. Although I only used 1 human for the material, I managed to create a relic class knife easily." "Hi ha hee hee. Isn't it a wonderful result?" "Yes, it's a wonderful result. It is so good that I wish I could sell it." Hisomi heard the words "I only used 1 human for the material," but he responded without changing his smile. The forbidden sword they are talking about is a powerful cursed weapon that is rarely discovered in ruins. Although it is called a sword, it basically refers to all kinds of weapons. Basically, they are cursed weapons that reduce the user's lifespan, make the user crave the living blood of others, or consume the mind and make the user lose their mind. It is said that some heroes in fairy tales have mastered the forbidden sword with their mental power. But generally, they are treated as dangerous things. Therefore, they are called forbidden swords, cursed weapons, evil swords, etc. Even under the 6-country agreement, forbidden swords are treated as dangerous things and must be reported immediately when discovered. Any intentional violation of the law can result in the death penalty. Nano bought a book about manufacturing forbidden swords from Hisomi and actually made the knife using a human being as the material. Nano is pleased with the merchant Hisomi's reply and speaks in a good mood. I see. As I thought, even an inferior human would understand the excellence of this knife when seeing it. No, isn't it because of my talent as a blacksmith that I can make such a wonderful knife from a useless human being? Maybe the goddess sent dwarves to this earth to create legendary weapons." He enters his own world in the middle of his speech and starts bragging. There is no way that a forbidden sword created from a human being doesn't affect its creator. Nano's mind is corrupted without realizing it, but he only feels a pleasant urge to create legendary weapons. Special material, one of the big barrels starts to rattle and move. Reacting to the sound, Nano stopped moving. Hisomi scratches his head and excuses himself apologetically. It seems that the drug didn't work well. I'm sorry, he woke up early. Nano doesn't respond to Hisomi's apology but puts his hand on the rattling barrel and opens the lid. Then he peeks inside and sees a man whose hands, feet, and body are tightly tied. He's a very lively human. This would make a wonderful weapon. You are lucky. By this genius's hand, you can be reborn into a legendary weapon that will be spoken about forever. I will turn useless humans into legendary weapons without wasting a single heart, bone, skin, grudge, pain, madness, or drop of blood. Be grateful, you should be grateful. NNGH. NNNNGH. NNNNGH. The man in the barrels trembles at Nano's statement and shakes his head with tears in his eyes. He can't move because he is tightly tied with ropes. Nano carefully closes the lid again and carries the big barrel. Looks like he is moving it to the basement workshop. I will be busy from now on. Hisomi, I need more humans. Please supply me with more humans. Yes, sir. Leave it to me. Even though he sees his own race treated cruelly, Hisomi's smile does not waver as he replies in agreement. He gets into his wagon and leaves the house. While driving the wagon, Hisomi mutters to himself. Hisomi slightly opens one of his slanted eyes and ponders. So there is no movement so far. Or is it already moving but I just don't notice it? If so, it's a bit troublesome. No, it's very troublesome. Without anyone hearing it, his mutters were swallowed by the sound of horses' footsteps and the wagon's movement. Infinite Gacha. Chapter 5 Episode 19. Nazuna. We descended from the floor guarded by infinite stone golems and arrived at a small island surrounded by the ocean. Then we flew to the south with SR flight. We were attacked by a giant fish, winged fishes, and saw-shaped head fishes on the way but safely made it to an island. There is a giant double-spiraled building on this island, similar to the one we saw on the floor above. We also found a half-destroyed lid and a hole in the ground. We did not go down immediately and stayed overnight on this island, but Nariku's strongest fighter's nose twitches, and she speaks to me. My lord. I feel that we should be more cautious when entering this hole. I smell danger. She imitated the dwarves and burst into tears when she drank seawater and was so excited like a child when she saw the giant whitefin whale. Still, Nazuna is the best fighter in Nariku. Even if Ellie and Aoyuki teamed up, she could match them. Mei also said that even if she joined the battle, she wouldn't make a difference. Nazuna is actually very strong. It would be safer to take her warning seriously. After putting back the cottage card to the item box, Mei creates a thread cage with magic thread, and we go down the hole like before. Since everyone has already heard Nazuna's warning, the atmosphere is tenser than before. Raito-sama, the end of the hole is near. Mei noticed the end of the hole and informed us. Everyone gets even more tense with her words. We go down through the hole. Mei makes a window so we can see outside, but maybe Nazuna is too wary. Sunlight like light pours down from the ceiling as usual. This light continues to shine throughout the day. The light allowed us to see the scene below us. Random black rectangular walls. The ground is made of gray stone mixed with black grains that we have seen at the ruins entrance. It is a material that the dwarves could not destroy even after many years. Nazuna was the only one that could break it. The gray ground was scooped, melted, sliced, and even formed a crater. The black rectangular wall was partly destroyed on top, scooped out on the sides, and smashed to pieces at the bottom. A large number of battle traces were left behind. This means that there are beings in this place that can easily break the gray material. Now I can understand why Nazuna senses danger and gets wary. The thread cage lands on the ground. We get down first to check the area, followed by the dwarves. This is the third time, so we are used to it. Mara, I want you to investigate from the air and the ground as you did before. Make sure to instruct your detached bodies to be careful of enemies. Keek keek keek. Of course, my lord. Thank you for your concern. Mara replies cheerfully. Perhaps she is glad that I worry about her. She creates birds from her arms and a wolf from under her skirt, just like before. After seeing off Mara's detached bodies, Dagon speaks up. Reito Dano. Would you mind if I investigate this floor until they get back? I can't allow you to move alone. But if you move together with the other, that's fine. Of course, please be careful. Thank you. Perhaps asking the dwarves who have a strong curiosity to hold back in front of all these things is impossible. Above all, I also have many concerns about this floor. We all move together while carefully watching out for enemies. First, we head toward the crater. To gouge that material so cleanly. What kind of attack did this? Magic? Isn't it impossible for offensive magic to scoop through that damn hard material so cleanly? Then how about a fantasy-class magic weapon? What about chemicals? I've seen an acid-spitting monster that melts armor. The dwarves start a discussion in front of the crater. I kneel down and touch the crater. It is like butter was gouged out with a heated spoon. How can such a hard material be so beautifully scooped out? I'm not a dwarf, but I can't help but ponder it. Even if I use infinite cards, it's difficult for me to cleanly scoop it out like this. It would be a different story if I fully unseal Gungnir's power. It can't be a Genesis-class weapon. But if someone uses a mythology-class weapon, maybe he can do something similar. Reito Dano, what's wrong? Get down. Everyone except the dwarves notices and reacts immediately. A white cannonball-like object is fired at high speed. Mei creates a wall with magic threads to block the attack. Normally, this should be enough to block it completely, but the wall disappeared. It disappeared as if it were scooped out, just like the crater on the ground. My lord! Behind me! Mara, don't touch it. Leave it to me. Mara quickly takes a stance in front of me, with huge dragon arms coming out of her hams. The dragon arms are steel-colored and covered with Mara's hardest scales, but Nazuna instinctively senses that won't be enough to defend against it. She steps in with her big sword in her hand. Ya. A flash of chi. It hit the white cannonball and deflected its trajectory. The shell scooped out the gray grounds and disappeared without any explosion. Looks like this strike was the one that created the crater in front of us. A snake-like creature suddenly appeared about 150 meters away from where the white shell was fired. Its body is about 10 meters long. To get this close without being noticed by me, Mei, or Nazuna. I did not lose my guard while checking the crater. Nevertheless, it got this close to us. It is as if the 10-meter-long creature can teleport. His upper body is covered with armor. His lower body looks like a snake wrapping around a black rectangular structure. The air is wavering slightly around his snake-shaped arms. The earlier shot seems to have been fired from its arms. Part of its body that resembles the human head is covered by a full-face helmet, so its facial expression is invisible. Suzu immediately takes a stance and fires back. Exclamation point. It's payback for the earlier attack. Be grateful and eat this, snake. Countless magic bullets were fired from the muzzle of the long spear-like musket gun. Maybe the snake-like creature couldn't react, it didn't move an inch, and its entire body was showered with magic bullets. He is not affected. No, did we miss it? No, it can't be. Suzu and Rock sound shocked. That's only natural. They thought all the magic bullets hit their target, but they all missed. To be exact, the bullets passed through the snake-like creature and hit things behind it. Everyone is stunned by this impossible phenomenon. In the midst of all this, Mei calmly checks our opponent's name, level, etc., with appraisal skill. But even after a while, she didn't say anything. While taking a stance with my staff, I look at Mei and call out to her. Mei, What's the level of that snake-like creature? To be able to avoid Suzu's magic bullets, he's not an ordinary enemy. Rato-sama, please be careful. That creature has no level. Not only me, but everyone made a surprised expression at her unexpected words. Infinite Gacha. Chapter 5 Episode 20. Great Sword Prometheus. Rato-sama, please be careful. That creature has no level. No level? I could not immediately respond to Mei's words properly. A snake-like creature suddenly appeared in front of us as an enemy. It is about 10 meters in height, has 2 arms and a snake-like lower body, and wears armor on its upper body and face. It has no level. Does she mean that thing is outside the concept of level? Shut-aya. The snake-like creature moves closer, making a sound like a real snake. Suzu shoots at him again. She shoots magic bullets with a speed of over 1,000 rounds per minute, but the snake-like creature doesn't care at all and charges at us head-on. The magic bullets fly into the face, arms, and torso, but they all slip through and hit the ground behind him. All of Suzu's attacks are meaningless. Shibu is surprised and grits her teeth in frustration. Then Mei gives her a warning. Suzu, it's no use. Your attack won't work on it. It is probably an artificial mythology class weapon created by the ancient civilization. Nazuna, it's your turn. Okay. Leave it to me. At Mei's instruction, Nazuna runs forward with a greatsword on her back. She is not intimidated by the 10-meter-tall snake-like creature. Doriaya. Head-on crash. She swings her great sword. Nazuna's blow is too strong, forcing the snake-like creature to stop his momentum and retreat. Nazuna holds up the great sword calmly. Suzu's magic bullet passed through him, but Nazuna's great sword forced him to retreat. I finally understood what Mei was pointing out. It has no level on it. So that's some kind of artificial mythology weapon created by the ancient civilization similar to the golems. When a sword is appraised, the level won't show up. Only the class, ability, name, etc. are displayed. This is because weapons and armor do not have levels. So that snake-like creature is like a moving weapon, similar to the golems. Besides, it's a man-made mythology class. I've heard that ancient civilizations can make mythology class weapons, but I didn't expect to see it myself. But thanks to this, I understand why Suzu's attack didn't work. In general, weapons and armor are ranked, but what are the criteria? Experts have different opinions. But generally, they are as follows. Genesis class creates the world itself. Mythology class interferes with the world and affects it in some way. Fantasy class has an overwhelming effect on surrounding objects, etc. Epic level affects surrounding objects not as much as the fantasy class. Artifact class affects surrounding objects, etc., not as much as the epic class. Relic class affects surrounding objects, etc., not as much as the relic class. Rare class, the main body has some power, increased sharpness, flames on the blade, etc. Ordinary class, ordinary weapons and armor. That's all. Genesis and mythology classes only appear in legends and have never been seen or heard of by experts, so their existence is uncertain. The fantasy and lower classes are mainly used as weapons. Mythology and Genesis class weapons are said to have some kind of extraordinary ability. In other words, they have the power to interfere with this world. If the snake-like creature is a mythology class weapon created by the ancient civilization, no wonder Suzu's attack passed through it. It must be the result of its ability to interfere with this world. Only Nazuna and I can deal with it because we have the same class or higher weapons. After recovering from the shock, Dwarf King Dagon understood why Mei had told Nazuna to come forward and pointed at her with his trembling finger. R.A. Reito Dano. The appearance of the artificial mythology class surprised me, but is her greatsword a mythology class? You didn't notice it? I assumed the dwarves didn't care about Nazuna since they weren't interested in her great sword. Dagon shouts vigorously. It looks like an ordinary greatsword with few ornaments, but that girl was playing with the waves and digging holes in the beach with that sword. Normally, no one would use a mythology weapon so carelessly. I can't deny it, so I fall silent and look away. The mythological class weapons only appear in legends. No country in this world has this kind of weapon. It will become a national treasure. Even if a nation possesses it, the government won't let the public know about it. In fact, the Queen Elf Nation and the Dwarf Kingdom only have fantasy-class weapons. Despite this, Nazuna has used it as a shovel, left it behind at the Naraku training grounds and other places, accidentally spilled milk on it, and so on. She doesn't treat it carefully. But the fact is that the great sword is a mythical sword, and only Nazuna can use it. Without paying attention to the conversation between Dagon and me, May gives her instructions. Since we don't know how he blocked our attack, you are the only one who can fight him. Nazuna, please take care of him. Leave it to me, May. I'll protect my lord and the others. Along with her shout, Nazuna's figure became blurry. She made a powerful leap. She disappears from the dwarf's sight. Then in a flash appears in front of the snake-like creature and swings her sword. The sound of metals clashing with each other at high speed. The sound is so loud that it hurts ordinary people's ears. The dwarves reflexively cover their ears. Meanwhile, Nazuna laughs happily. It's harder than I expected. I'm glad that I can finally get a little more serious. She smiles as she raises her great sword Prometheus. Twist the Providence. Prometheus. With her shout, the great sword Prometheus interferes with the world, and Nazuna splits into 5 people. Nuga? She's split into 5. What is that? Is that some kind of advanced technology that allows her to move at high speed and look like she's split into 5 persons? No, it is not. Each one of them is Nazuna, with the same weapon and level. Adding to the dwarves' amazement. Prometheus, Nazuna's great sword, has Twist Providence ability. What does Twist Providence mean exactly? It can interfere with the world and cause events that are impossible to happen. The greatsword Prometheus can create multiple clones with the same weapon and level. In other words, it can create multiple clones exactly the same as the person. Nazuna can face Ellie and Aoyuki simultaneously, and may feel she can't match Nazuna because of this sword's ability. However, greatsword Prometheus is not omnipotent. Naturally, there are limitations. First, it can only create 4 clones with the same equipment, level, and memory at the most. The level and weapons decrease if more than 4 clones are created, and the maximum number of clones is limited to 1000. In addition, if the user forcibly twists Providence, the backlash will return to the user. In the worst case, the user may even die. The first target of the interference is the user, Nazuna herself. Next are her belongings. Then inorganic objects, stone, iron, ground, etc., and things that contain magical power. Finally, others. It is almost impossible for Twist Providence to weaken or lower the other party's level in a real battle. It is possible to do so if one forces himself, but the backlash is too great. There are more disadvantages than advantages. Rather than using it on others, it is more effective to create Nazuna clones and attack in this way. Come on. Snake. 5 persons, including herself and her clones, charge with the great sword Prometheus in their hands. Oria. I'll cut you into pieces.